Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Technical Difficulties, written by GIJoeVibin. Location, Diet Headquarters, Pentagon Basement, Virginia. And what does it do? Robert addressed the question to the team on the leftmost TV screen in his makeshift office. As administrators of the newly formed Department of Investigation of Extraterrestrial Technology, Diet, we had to keep a close eye on the US's efforts at acquiring technology to examine it. It's half of an ibis cannon. One of the 10 people who stood around the object resting on the metal table spoke up, looking rather embarrassed. Only half. The Brits had already given the other parts to the cannon to the Australians. The British had done a fantastic job at scavenging pieces of technology from the Hecatanes. Too fantastic, Robert thought. There were multiple reports of them swiping technology from battlefields before recovery teams could access it. Or worse, literally stealing from stockpiles in order to guarantee their near-total monopoly. How much did we pay for it? Nothing. That's why we couldn't get a whole cannon. Robert supposed he could understand their focus on getting money out of the rest of the world by selling tech. Britain had been more than blown apart, and he assumed the USA would probably do the same thing under the circumstances. Oh sure, aid was pouring in like there was no tomorrow, but their new government was intending to get the nation back on its feet as soon as possible. You have the largest government R&D budget in history, and you didn't think to buy anything? The scientists seemed to be struggling to find answer to that question. You're going to get on a plane as soon as possible, and the next time I see you, I want to have a lot more to show. All right, so ultra-heavy weapons team, or bust. Infantry weapons team, how did it go? He looked towards the different screen. We got a lot. Some free samples, quite a lot bought, and far too many to count recovered in the field. Initial examinations are currently focusing on the power cells. They're good, contain enough power for 1,000 shots, can be recharged by some truck-portable fusion reactor design. Problem is, they use an element we haven't yet seen, so we're going to struggle to build more. At least until we can find where they get this element from, and start getting a supply. By all accounts, the Hecatanes brought plenty of cells to spare though. Anything more? They sold us 300 XM-160s, so we're putting in a request for the army to load a company of troops to the field to test them. We know that tech-wise, they won't give us much, the Hecatanes' guns won't. But they're a good way to trial interrogating plasma tech. We're also bringing a platoon's worth of X-resistance over to get their expertise using them. And the anti-tank launchers? 100 odd in total. We've already started tearing a dozen apart. We're getting a lot of good progress here. Very good. Now, armor team. 3,000 suits, all in one big purchase. And the Brits already cleaned the bodies out from the ones with bullet holes in. We also have got some 1,000 odd recovered, but they mostly still have bodies in them. They have power cells just like the rifles, which by our estimates provide for 2 days of non-stop movement at running pace, before needing a recharge. So pretty durable. We could easily adapt that into current exoskeleton programs. A woman stepped up to answer his question. How long before we could get something similar on the field? Mostly an issue of production capacity, specifically redirecting it. In theory, we could have soldiers running about in them by the end of the year. But we'd take a while getting to even 50% of peacetime units equipped, let alone under current situation where we're ballooning our numbers. We do have a side note though, not directly related to military uses, but it is relevant enough. We found in examination that the suits to their berserker types contain a complex liquid circulation system, combined with multiple micro-injection ports that rapidly provide stims to the soldier. We think this could be repurposed for stuff like delivery of cancer drugs, immunosuppressants, and so on. They don't require much energy to run, and they're small enough to fit in a civilian clothing, which could make life a lot easier for patients day-to-day. So the FDA are going to run a trial of it soon. That's wonderful news. Always good to see civilian benefits. Now, I believe aerospace team have some new things to show me, correct? Location, classified laboratory, unknown USA. It shouldn't work, Frank heard one of the colleagues groan as he walked towards the facility's workshop with a tray full of coffee mugs. But that was Joyce, and she sounded rather exasperated this time. But it does, and I do not know how. Let's go over this again. The generator supplies energy to the arrays, which do it by magic. No, that's not helpful, Norman. Aliens providing us with tech we do not understand and new laws of physics we hadn't even considered as yet. It's not helpful. Frank finally could see what they were talking about. It was a disassembled section of floor plating from the Hecatane space station, alongside an intact piece that was currently levitating a pencil perfectly in mid-air. You'll get it soon enough, don't worry. The Brits are talking about sending over some of their Class A's. They say that they've found someone who serviced these for a living. Frank delivered the news as he handed a mug to Joyce and rested Norman's mug on the anti-gravity stream as he liked. The mug remained perfectly static, not moving a single inch. Still, it's like giving a Roman a M1 Abrams and 100 army mechanics. Eventually, we'll crack it with their help. But it's so far away that it's unassailable where we stand. We don't know where to start. Think of it like this, though, Norman. Sure. It'll take them a long time to work out how it works. But when you give the Romans an Abrams and they crack it, you have just saved them from centuries of research into internal combustion engine, firearms, computers, and so on. When we have all of this put together, we'll have leapfrogged so much that has kept the rest of this galaxy stuck for God knows how long. Frank briefly paused his coffee sips to give the reply. You could see Joyce was bursting to say something, so he nodded to her when he was done. I read an interrogation report. The one that British guy, who's a general now, did on the Brigadier General the SAS brought him. He said that when pressed on recent tech improvements, the Hecatane kept mentioning hyperdrive improvements. That brought another groan from Norman, but Joyce pressed on. The guy said by his estimates, the main focus of Hecatane research is hyperdrives. They've had so long fiddling with them that they're bored of their current speeds and want more, like a NASCAR team trying to reach an absolute limits of what they can do, despite already being number one. What are you trying to say here? This means nothing. It's important, Norman, and this is why. Do you think when we finally understand the hyperdrive, that we will say, time to make it even faster? Or will we go, that's more than enough for us right now. Let's put improvements on the back burner and focus elsewhere. We all know the answer. If you give Romans an M1 Abrams and tell them how to make more, they will start working on designing the M1A2. Or would they be content with that and start working out everything else? Nah, I suppose that makes sense. Still, that doesn't get us any closer to understanding this, does it? Location, U.S. capital, Washington, D.C. This is surely illegal. We've checked that already, Senator. The Outer Space Treaty doesn't ban us from putting missiles in space, so long as they are not carrying WMDs. And anyway, it is likely that we'll see an update to the treaty soon, specifically to cover these installations, Holly explained, pointing specifically to a portion of the presentation that detailed payloads. For what it's worth, even if it was illegal, there's no way we wouldn't be okay to do this. The UN will probably just tell us that we can't make it a US-only project, and that's it. The team of NASA engineers she was in control of had been awoken by a knock at the door by a Secret Service several months ago, before being taken to a special facility, location still classified to them. They'd been given some weapons experts, told create an orbital defense station, and they'd be more than taken to that task. Now, she was presenting the results of that project to a room full of senators. How many will need to ensure total defense? Senator Rubio asked, a rather grim look on his face. By our calculation, several hundred for what we're calling a point defense capability. And we'll need thousands to give us a wiggle room to set up space infrastructure without being obliterated. That's assuming an assault force of equivalent size to what we saw hit Britain. These are only the first generations of designs, though. We used existing technology to build them. All we've stuck on are the micro-meteorite deflectors and the gravity plating. Given a good grasp of Hecatane technology, we could cut that number in half. How long would it take to get that many, then? With total focus, we reckon satisfactory point defense in a decade. That would require most big nations to drop tank production, plane production, etc., and run rocket launches more regularly than we've ever done. Plus those Hackatane shuttles give us every single factory in the world. We can have them all constructed in next to no time. But then rocket and shuttle launches become a bottleneck that takes us 4 years total. That caused some concern amongst the senators, so Holly added a little more. We're planning on delivering the schematics to all countries with the space program, and we reckon that we can have a decent enough network to stop I think we calculated a guaranteed 10% of a Britain-scale assault fleet by the year 2026. Why is it so low? Senator Warren asked. These designs seem more than powerful enough to do serious damage, especially in large numbers. Because we can't just defend one corner of the globe, Senator. China won't help us build stations if all of them sit over North America. India won't help us launch them if we promise China they'll get some to themselves, etc. Regardless, even if we totally covered the USA, we have reason to believe the Hecatanes could enter an atmosphere anywhere and fly their craft underneath our stations, rendering them useless. The only way to guarantee protection is to distribute our defenses. But we'll end up with too low of a concentration to guarantee total destruction of an attacking force. Do you mean to tell me that you're building a design that cannot ensure Earth's safety? Senator Hawley cut in. This station is not supposed to kill 100% of any invading force, at least not in short-term goals. It'll kill as many as possible, but ultimately, its job is to weaken the invaders as much as possible, in order to make the job of our land forces easier. That was our overriding priority, unless you can give us a few more years and a couple more zeros to the budget. Location: the Pentagon, Arlington, Virginia. What's new, Sarah? Working in the various parts of the DoD that dealt with weapons procurement meant new reports flooding in every single day, sometimes by the hour. Boss Ironworks says they have a redesign on the Zumwalt. They tell us they've made space for plasma anti-aircraft guns, and they want to fit new missiles. They promise us the first new ships will be fully operational by 2026, so long as we give the right funding. For one thing, that's a definite lie. For another, remind them that we're not bothering with new Navy ships, and we won't until the Hecatanes start developing gills. Too expensive. And we didn't need our ships that much in round 1. Already did that, sir. Otherwise, Boeing are asking for permission to start work on mounting a plasma gun to the F-22. And they're talking about a new UCAV based on the X-45 to supplement the Air Force. Give them permission to start exploring that. Did Norinco get back to us about the Abrams conversion? And the one with the ETC gun? Yes, they're sending a team over, and the Russians have piggybacked on as well. They're talking about helping us build new turrets in return for letting them peek at the new coating on the F-35s. Sarah, how did I end up doing this? If I gave them that a year ago, the government would have put me in a cell for God knows how long. We live in strange times, sir. I'll take that as a yes. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.